Hello there. Thank you for your interest in Navi and taking the time to watch this demo. In this demo, I'm going to focus on two areas of Navi, the product cost control functionality and the recipe building functionality. I will also touch on some of Navi's other functions and features near the end of this video. We are going to start by talking about product cost control. So let's have a look at the COGS analysis report. This report is the fundamental cost control report that Navi generates. It calculates your actual cost of goods sold and cost of goods sold percentage for your individual product categories. This number is very important to understanding your actual product costs and comparing them to your targets or theoretical costs. In order to come to this number, the system needs to know three things: your purchases that come from your invoices, your sales information, and your opening and closing inventory values. Let's go ahead and take a look at where all of this information flows into Navi. The Daily Rec page is a form designed to reconcile your daily sales and receipts. The sales entered into these fields are the sales that will appear on your COGS analysis report and many other reports available. This page is typically filled out every day. However, if you're not interested in using Navi to reconcile your sales and receipts, you can just use this page to enter your sales as a total for your inventory count cycle, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly, whatever that might be for your operation. So, if you are just using Navi as a product cost control tool, you just need to enter your 5 or 6 sales numbers from your POS system every count cycle. However, we greatly encourage you to use Navi as a daily business monitoring system. The categories listed under sales, taxes, receipts, and promotions are all customizable. If you collect sales from catering or even a golf simulator, you can add in any additional categories or change and delete any existing categories. While we're here, let me show you the daily labor page. This is where you can enter your labor costs for the day. For most Navi users, they have another software or their POS system managing their employees' punches. So, Navi really just wants a summary of that information. It's as simple as entering in hourly front of house labor costs in dollars and hours, and the same for hourly back of house. Management labor can also be inputted on this page simply by checking the manager that worked that day. For smaller operations that use sign-in and sign-out sheets to track their team's punches, labor can also be tracked in a more detailed form. The detailed form of labor tracking will list your employees by department and will allow you to enter the hours worked that day and then confirm the employee work by checking this box. With detailed labor tracking, you will have access to Navi's labor reports, which summarize your employees' hours worked and payroll totals. The next tab here is the Miscellaneous tab. This page allows you to record more detailed sales information: sales by time periods, sales by department, and average guest check by time period. These fields can be customized to reflect your operation. A great feature on this page is the Notes section. This allows you to write down information you would like to share with the other managers accessing Navi. The information inputted on the Daily Rec, Daily Labor, and Miscellaneous tabs can be locked in by using the Submit button. Once submitted, only Navi users with certain permissions can go back and edit the locked data. Also, once clicked, a daily email gets sent to whoever wants to receive it. I will show you more on that later. Let's take a look at the COGS analysis again. We reviewed where the sales are inputted that appear here, so let's take a look at where invoices are entered that appear here on this report as purchases. Entering invoices in Navi is very simple. Instead of entering invoices item by item like the other inventory systems out there, with Navi, invoices are entered by the category. Remember, the Navi simple approach to product cost control doesn't care how many potatoes you bought. For example, I have an invoice to enter that contains 30 plus items. With the other inventory systems, this invoice may take upwards of 10 minutes to enter just one invoice, especially if some of the items are new to the restaurant. But because this invoice of 30 plus items is all food, adding this invoice takes seconds. For invoices that have multiple categories on them, each time you batch the amount for one category, Navi tells you how much is left to allocate. So when you have batched everything but the last category, you just select that category and you are done. Since the COGS analysis report calculates the percentage for the categories as a whole, then you only need to enter your invoices into Navi by the whole categories. This cuts down on time spent in the office every day, allowing you to work on more important things. Next, we'll have a look at the inventory count page. Counting inventory is how your inventory valuation is determined. The system needs to know your opening and your closing inventory to figure out your cost of goods sold. Each closing inventory count for a period then becomes the opening count for the next period. Counting inventory in Navi is made incredibly simple with our mobile counting app. Instead of printing physical count sheets, going around the restaurant with a clipboard and pencil, and sitting down to input numbers for hours, with Navi's counting app, when you enter a count on the app, it shows in Navi in real time. The app is free to download on a phone or tablet and can be used by anyone in your restaurant to count your inventory. Simply generate a count code and enter this into the app to allow someone access to count your inventory for a period of 24 hours. With this feature, you can have as many people as you want counting your inventory. If you generate 5 separate count codes as an example, you can have 5 people count your beverage inventory. One counts the bar, one counts the beer walk-in, one counts the liquor lockup, and so on. With this functionality, a 2 to 4 hour inventory count can be done in as little as 20 minutes, and all of it straight into the Navi system. There are multiple ways to find an inventory item on the app. One way is to scan a barcode. This is a great option for the bar. Once the code has been associated to the inventory item, you can quickly scan and input the count. By expanding on the item listed on the count page, we can see who counted the item, when it was counted, the format it was counted in, and how that converts to the default counting unit, and the counted value of the item. If you find you've made a mistake, this count can be edited here under the Amount Entered column, or if the count is wrong or a duplicate, it can be removed by using the trash can icon. Since we have now entered sales, purchases, and also finished 2 inventory counts, the cost of goods sold analysis will show our actual cost of goods sold percentage. This is the golden ticket number you're working towards. Now that you have your actual cost of goods sold percentage, it's important to understand your theoretical cost of goods sold percentage so you can compare the two and see if your actual is in line with your theoretical. This brings us to the recipe building module within Navi. Let's see how to get your inventory items set up and start building recipes. Now that I've showed you how to count your inventory, now I need to show you how to set up your inventory in the system. This is probably the biggest part of setup that needs to be done, but we've made it easy for you if you want by having a template of downloadable items to get you on your way quickly. There are 2 ways to add items to your inventory. First, you can use the Add button to create an item, add details about the item like how you purchase it, how you plan to use it in a recipe, and how you want to count it. The other way to add items to your inventory, as mentioned, is with our inventory template here, which is like a library of items you can easily add to your inventory. First, choose the category, then browse and select items you wish to add. Once selected, you can add in the product code and supplier before they're brought over, or you can skip this step and do this later. These items are generally priced, so you may need to edit the item details to better reflect your inventory. The inventory template is a great place to quickly add liquor items into your inventory. Since the barcodes generally stay the same for liquor bottles, we have added UPC codes to each item. So when you're counting inventory using the mobile app, you don't have to associate the item yourself. We've already done it for you. Let's add an item from scratch into inventory using the Add Item button. Enter in the name of the item, let's do flour, select our supplier or add supplier if it hasn't already been added, and the product code. Next, we need to tell Navi how we purchase flour. In this case, we purchase flour by the single or each, and the unit is a bag. The bag of flour is 10 kilograms and is bought for $15. Now, Navi wants to know the information about how we want to use this item in a recipe. The unit we select here is the default unit that will appear when we add this item to a recipe. In this example, flour is usually used in recipes by volume measurement, but because I purchase flour by weight, I'm not currently seeing volume measurements. However, if we add weight-volume conversion, it will allow us to recipe flour by both weight and/or volume. Click this box and fill out the conversion by hand, or simply use our density library to quickly browse and add the weight-volume conversion. We also have the option to fill out a yield percentage. In this case, flour yield is 100%, but if you were adding a different item and wanted to look up the general yield of that item, we also have a yield library of common items. Next, just select the default counting unit. This is the unit that will show on the count page next to the item, and the unit that will appear on count sheets if you wish to use them. Building your inventory is where most time is spent, but once it's done, it's done. Everything that I have shown you so far allows you to effectively monitor your cost of goods sold. Unlike other systems, Navi does not need you to fully cost out your entire menu for it to be an effective product cost control tool. We highly recommend you use Navi to cost out your menu, as that is an important part of both menu margin maximization and setting accurate cost of goods sold targets. But you don't need to do it all in one day. Get it done over time if that's what works for you. Now let's have a look at the recipe building module. The recipe building module is very easy to use, and unlike some of our competitors, Navi offers this function in all subscription packages. No extra fee or add-on cost to use this function. In Navi, there are two different kinds of recipes, the prep sub recipes and menu recipes. Prep sub recipes can be used in other recipes and show on your inventory list. A few examples of prep sub recipes are house-made salad dressing, marinated chicken thighs, beer batter, roasted sweet potatoes, or confit garlic, and the list goes on. Menu recipes are the recipes of your final dishes, the ones you sell to your guests. These recipes can be categorized into groups that reflect your menu. Let's create a prep sub recipe using the example of a salad dressing that we make in-house. Let's say you make this in liter batches, so we'll enter 1 liter into our units made field up here. Next, add the items this recipe consists of from your inventory by clicking Add Existing Item. Then adjust the quantity of each item and adjust the yield of each item if necessary. There is also the option to enter preparation notes, other notes, and the ability to attach an image to the recipe. You can also add in portions made. This batch of salad dressing creates 33 portions. Once the prep sub recipe is saved, it will calculate the cost of the entire recipe and the cost of each portion. And because this is a batch recipe, when you save it, it also goes into your inventory under the prep sub recipe category so that you can use it in other recipes and also count it when doing inventory. Next, let's see how the salad dressing can be used in a final menu recipe. My final recipe will be a large house salad. I already have all my items added and quantities adjusted. I just need to add the dressing we made. Since I entered the portions made into this prep sub recipe, I can add it to my final menu recipe in portion units. But I could also enter it by milliliters, fluid ounces, and all the other units here if I wanted. You may notice that with menu item recipes, you need to enter the selling price of the dish. Now that Navi knows the cost of the dish and the selling price, it can calculate the margin and cost of goods sold and cost of goods sold percentage. It is best practice to build out all your recipes in Navi. However, it's not at all necessary to build them all for the system to work. If you are running a special or have a last-minute catering event and haven't built out those recipes yet, it's probably not going to have a huge effect on your final theoretical cost of goods sold percentage. Once your recipes are built out, you will know your cost of goods sold percentage for each individual recipe. But what about food as a whole? That's where the summary theoretical report comes in. Simply pull a sales mix report from your POS. We recommend at least a 2-week period and input the quantity sold of each item for that time period. This report calculates the weighted average cost of goods sold and cost of goods sold percentage based on what you've sold. So these numbers represent what your product cost should be based on the recipes in this system and how much you sold of each item. This is essentially what your product cost should be if your management and staff were perfect. There was no overproportioning, no wastage, no theft, etc. This becomes your theoretical cost of goods sold percentage, which in turn is your forecasted or target cost of goods sold percentage. So let's bring it all back to the COGS analysis report. We've determined how to get your actual cost of goods sold percentage, and we've gone through how to reach your theoretical or forecasted cost of goods sold percentage. Ideally, we want our theoretical to match our actual at least within 1 percentage point. If it doesn't, that's when you know you've missed something like an invoice entry, or you forgot to count the left side of the fridge, or if you've ruled out those things, perhaps it's a different issue like overproportioning, wastage, or even theft. In the end, Navi can't predict what the issue is, but it does let you know if there is a problem in the simplest way possible. This means less time in the office and more time on the floor actually running your business. There are a few more features within Navi that I want to show you. The dashboard is the first page you see when you log into Navi. It's a snapshot of the previous day and much more. Along the top, you'll see your daily sales, invoices, and any discounts or promotions entered for the day you're viewing. And in the bottom left is a sales widget showing your current sales for the week compared to your last week, last year, and target sales. In the bottom right is your product cost widget. This compares your cost of goods sold percentage period over period for each inventory category. The forecasting page is a place to forecast sales, labor, and your cost of goods sold percent for future weeks. When your targets are entered here, they appear on the dashboard and many reports, including the cost of goods sold analysis report, so you can easily compare your actuals to your target or forecasted numbers. One of the reports your forecasted numbers will appear on is the Inventory Gross Margin Report. This is an easy-to-read consolidation of all of the numbers we just went through. It's like a mini financial statement. It contains 4 periods, shows your sales, labor costs, and product costs for each of those periods, and for a 4-period total. This report also compares your actuals to your forecasted for the combined 4 periods and gives you your bottom line, so you know exactly how you're doing before getting a financial statement from your accountant. And as I mentioned when showing the Daily Rec module, the daily email can be sent out every night when the Daily Rec is submitted. This email consists of all the information you could want to know about the day. You have your sales breakdown, your labor costs, inputs made on the miscellaneous page, and any notes that were written for the day. It also shows sales and labor costs for the week and compares it to your last week's sales and last year's sales. You can select what email addresses you want the daily email to go to. Navi was created to be the simplest inventory cost control solution on the market. Designed by restaurant industry professionals for restaurant industry professionals. With you in mind, Navi positions itself to be the most cost-effective inventory cost control solution on the market, with the monthly cost being much less than other systems. The simplicity of Navi also means you and your management team will spend less time in the office with overcomplicated tasks like detailed invoice entry or inventory count inputs, saving you several office hours each week so you can get back to doing the things you really want to do. Our plans are priced based on the number of user accounts you'll need. No premium features or paywalls here. Just choose the plan that works for the size of your restaurant.